Hello and welcome back everybody to the Foodbuild factory, where today we're going to take a look at the Boomer, which isn't a generation joke but rather a reference to Fallout New Vegas. So first and foremost, as always, I'm going to show you some gameplay in the first part of the video, and in the latter half of the video I'm going to take a closer look at perks, mutations and everything you need to know about the character. However, I will show you the perk loadout really quick now, but as I said, we're going to get over it later in the video, and we're going to take a closer look at it. So here it is. Here we do have our perks, and these are the legendary perks. So let's get right into the battle. Now, first and foremost, you see we are armed with an explosive weapon, which is something that you won't encounter all that often, and there's some good reasons for it. Now, explosive weapons in this game are notoriously bad, let's say that way. Now, the problem is that first time Fallout 76 was announced, and we heard some stuff about it, mainly when I saw that we're going to be able to craft ammunition. I was immediately thinking that I wanted to make a character that was always a lot of fun in other Fallout games, but hold back by the fact that, well, if you wanted to make an explosive character, you were limited or had to server hop, well, not server hop in single player games, but vendor hop, and most of the time that led to times where you had to wait for several days in order to refresh their inventory, and yeah, it was just frustrating and not that big of a not that fun of an achievement. Well, fun of an achievement, that doesn't make sense. You know what I'm talking about. Now, I was extremely let down, let's say that way, the first time I picked up a missile launcher and tried to use that thing. And the biggest problems explosive weapons in this game have are, first and foremost, for how fast they break, how heavy and expensive their ammo is to craft. They're not exactly great in terms of damage. But that's the shorter problem. I feel like you can do good damage with them compared to other other weapon classes, for the simple reason that you don't have to invest all that much in terms of damage. Now, instead of 9 perk points you usually spend in other weapon classes, you only spend 5 perk points. So I feel like that's okay. And obviously, if you would be able to one-shot every enemy in the game with the Fat Man, yeah, that would lead to some balance issues. But the bigger problem is their condition bar. Now, we do start with a full or nearly full condition bar, repaired to 200% condition, but the problem is that in this game condition works on hits, not on shots. So the moment you're shooting an enemy, your condition goes down. Now, in terms of explosive weapons, that means that if you're hitting multiple enemies, which should be the situation that the weapon is made for. I mean, if you think about explosive weapons, you think like, hey, if a horde of ghouls comes around or something, that would probably be the best occasion to use my grenade launcher or rocket launcher. Well, that's just not the case, because yeah, you're doing like maybe 5 shots or something, and your weapon will be broken, which is kind of ridiculous because the base condition of these things is relatively low already. And yeah, factor in that they usually hit multiple targets. Yeah, you can. Do we wanna? Yeah, we wanna let you live today. Well, no, actually. Now, as you can see here, one thing that's happening, if you're continuously firing at the same target, I'm not sure how easily it's to make out. It's possible that you're firing 2 grenades. You saw it on the last shot here, which deal full damage. So actually, every once in a while you're dealing double damage with your shot. I think you also consume double ammo, but yeah, it's a nice effect to have. It's simply because the server can't handle it. or something. Now, as you can see, we're already down with our condition by quite a bit. Now, there's no real workaround. I'm basically using every perk and every bit that helps in order to make our weapon last longer, but it will never be a weapon that runs for ages without having to repair it. Now, best use is that what you want to do is you want to use this weapon here for single targets mainly, and keep a secondary explosive weapon in order to deal with crowds. So basically, if you're encountering a crowd of ghouls or something, yeah, you're basically sacrificing one of your weapons because it will be nearly broken after the fight with a ghoul horde or something. So there's that. But another noteworthy thing about explosives is, or explosive weapons in general, is that they tend to perform way better in VATS. Now that's because for some reason in VATS, if you're hitting an enemy, your shots actually get counted twice rather than once. Now if you're having a two-shot weapon, that means that you're actually hitting the enemy 4 times, which is kind of ridiculous, and to be honest, if it would work like that on any other weapon, it would be pretty much outright ridiculous. Quadruple your damage is, yeah, it's crazy. Now, another thing I will show off here is, yeah, when it comes to Scorch Beasts, they have an inherent explosive resistance, so yeah, it's not the best idea to fight them. However, as you can see, it's not like they're invincible. Keep in mind we're only fighting a level 75, so there's higher level versions. But yeah, we can deal with it, and it wasn't all that much of a problem. Now also, the moment they're landing, they take more damage because the explosives hit the ground, and therefore basically not only 1 but 2 of the damage dealers I talked about earlier do actually hit the target. But yeah, I was surprised that, honestly, I feel like the Thumper, which on paper appears to be basically the worst explosive weapon in this game, in my opinion performs best out of all the other contenders. Its condition holds relatively long compared to the others. In terms of damage, you don't see a big letdown compared to other weapons. Obviously the Fat Man does the most damage, and I can only advise you to carry one. It's fun to use, but this one here gives you the best explosive feel, I guess. It's like, yeah, you really can roleplay this kind of boomer character that you would know from Fallout New Vegas. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's actually quite good on the DPS, and especially if you're running around the White Spring, it actually performs way better than I expected it. And yeah, a major problem is ammo, but to be honest, yeah, I guess if you're a high level player, you should probably have one character that's able to make ammo quite efficiently. And in terms of resources, it's actually not that bad. I mean, aluminium and adhesive, while they're not completely rare materials, you can burn through them quite fast. Gotta say that. Wow. Not quite sure what happened there, to be honest. Yeah. The Assaultron, those guys are a pain in the ass. Yeah, do you wanna get out of stealth maybe? If you're fighting your laser? Yeah, this is not going well. Give me a second. I'm bad at talking and fighting tough fights simultaneously. Now, you see that in free aim, yeah, we're not doing great. So there's definitely limitations. With other weapons, this would have been way easier. But don't fear, we're coming back for him. And yeah, back to the topic. What did I want to say? Yeah, it actually performs better than I thought. Now, our character, as you saw, isn't all that squishy, so we were able to tank that Assaultron for quite a while. But yeah, you know, these guys are basically, yeah, they're really powerful enemies. You shouldn't mess with them. I mean, if you're having a power armor heavy character with the electric absorption perk, they're basically useless. So there's workarounds, but yeah. As you see here, our missile launcher also performs quite well. At least we're one-shotting things. I mean, that should be expected. Now, when it comes to this here glowing ghoul, it's definitely a bit of a different story. I thought we killed that guy, but yeah, must have been a rat or something getting in the way. So a bit of outmaneuvering is definitely not a bad idea. What's pretty impressive in my opinion when it comes to the M79 grenade launcher is that it actually has quite fast reload. So one thing we're doing is we actually use the lock and load perk, which increases heavy guns reload speed, and that affects the M79 grenade launcher, for those of you who didn't know. And once you do that, actually you can fire quite quickly. I don't even have a faster reload version, so I imagine if you have one of those, that could be great. Now, another thing that's great about this character is I'm using a combination of a dense armor chest piece and the fireproof perk, which, I mean, it's not exactly a secret at this point, but yeah, it completely negates all explosive damage. Now, you can still hurt yourself quite badly if you're using something like, let's say, a plasma grenade or something. But yeah, in terms of our own weapons here, and well, he's back to full health. That's a shame. Now, as you can see here, our main problem with the Assaultron isn't that we can damage him. The problem is that he's in a stealth field, and that makes him way more... Yeah, he's going to kill us again, and I fucked up. Yeah, I was locked in my... What's it called? Yeah, in my Pip-Boy. So... yeah, we're not dealing with him anymore. I mean, you know how the fight would go, so yeah, if I wouldn't have fucked up, we would have a chance. I could also have used grenades, which I tend to forget about. Obviously, our character is quite efficient when it comes to using those, but yes. It should be no surprise this character isn't really OP, and there's definitely limits to it, but for what it is, for an explosive character, I was genuinely surprised, and it's a lot of fun, and yeah. The topic I mentioned earlier, which I didn't finish quite, yes, ammo isn't actually that bad to make. Like, it cost me around 50 aluminum, adhesive, some springs, but those I find relatively easy to have a large amount of. I don't know, like, I tend to have a large amount of them on my high-level characters, so not quite sure why that is, because in the early game I can remember I was struggling quite a bit with them. But yes. Now here you can see we have this nice little throwing arc from when we're using explosives. At the moment, by the way, we did just use very basic fragmentation grenades, if I recall correctly. So keep that in mind. If you're using plasma grenades or whatever you feel like, you can do way better. In case, yeah, let's just use some plasma grenades next time. You know what? I hope that made it over the barrier. Oh yeah, it actually did. And yeah, that's enough so we can now one-shot these guys. No, him not exactly, but yeah. Another thing that was is relatively surprising about explosives is that they are fairly efficient when it comes to VATS. Now, this is a good thing because, as I said earlier, you basically don't want to play an explosive character without VATS, simply because the damage is just so much better, which is another thing that's kind of counterintuitive. Like, you think if there's one weapon you don't need VATS for, it's going to be explosives, because yeah, they have an area of effect damage, and yeah, you're not going to need to aim all that much, but yeah, for some reason they just perform way better in VATS. And to be honest, I could very well imagine that sooner or later Bethesda will patch this. I mean, they have a tendency to debuff, or yeah, if there was a term, you know, yeah, they have a tendency to nerf weapons that can barely hold up while not giving a fuck about OP weapons. So yeah, I wouldn't be all too sure or all too certain that this is going to be a thing for a long time. I mean that explosive weapons do double damage in VATS. But on the other hand, we might be lucky enough that they say, well, explosive weapons are garbage, so we don't need to nerf them. Who knows? Now, another thing I see relatively often when it comes to explosive weapons is that people complain you can't one-shot everything, which I get on sniper rifles, for example. They should really be able to do that. But on the other hand, when it comes to explosives, they are, as you see here, relatively fast firing. So yeah, I don't really feel like it's that big of a problem. I mean, sure, it would be nice if I could have one-shotted every single one of these guys, but yeah, it's not that big of a deal. Yet another thing I wanted to mention is that also the range is quite nice. I didn't even bother to use the extended barrel, which would nearly double the range on this weapon here. It's basically kind of ridiculous. You can stand on a cliff and just have 95% hit chance on all those guys down there on the super mutants. So you can keep that in mind. It's just I just killed those fireflies, by the way, for the sake of gathering some adrenaline, if you're wondering. Okay, that wasn't exactly a hit, I gotta admit. Yeah, and as you see, by the way, now that we were at point blank range, our character didn't take, I think, a bit of damage from that shot. So yeah, there's that. Now, last but not least, I think we're going to clear the backside of this here West Tech building, but we're not going to bother to clear the whole place out. I think you're going to see how it works out. By the way, keep a look at our condition. This weapon here was at full condition, but not 200% repaired, so just 100%. And yeah, our grenade launcher was at 200% nearly when we started, and now it's about 3/4, I'd say. Yeah, a bit more than 3/4. Not a math genius, so don't expect a better estimate here. And yeah, as you see, I don't know what to say. I'm just generally surprised. Now, obviously, the video is kind of let down a little bit by my encounter with the Assaultron, which is a bit embarrassing. I should have done better there, but I hope you can judge by the rest of the video that actually it's not that bad. And yeah, maybe you give it a shot, especially if you're having a high-level character. This could be a lot of fun. Now, another thing you can do is you can basically set up traps. Come here, dog. Now, this was surprisingly weak, this attack, but I think he was just out of range or something. Not sure. Well, yeah, fuck it. Yeah, the damage isn't for some reason as inconsistent as it once was, and last thing I want to mention before I get over to the perk itself is that if you're using the perk that reduces explosives weight, ammo is actually really manageable, because while it's still relatively heavy, carrying 500 or something 40mm grenades carries you a long time. Now, even though let's say alright, 5mm would be a better comparison, but 5.56, for example, it weighs basically nothing, but you want to carry, or over time you're going to carry around like 15 to 20,000 minimum, so that's going to add up still, and therefore I don't think it's that much of a problem. Now, anyways, this was the gameplay. I hope you did enjoy the video so far, and now we're going to take a look at our equipment. Now, here we have it. This is the grenade launcher we were using. It's an anti-armor, VATS crit, less VATS action point cost one. Now, less VATS action point cost is actually really nice for this build, as you saw. For some time, especially when we're fighting higher level enemies, we lock onto the target and fire for quite some time, and therefore having less VATS cost is actually very beneficial. Now, in terms of anti-armor and VATS crit, I'm having a hard time seeing through the damage numbers, So I can't really tell. Sometimes I feel like the VATS crits do extra damage, sometimes I feel like they don't. And same for anti-armor. I ultimately didn't really test it. Sorry for that, by the way. Ultimately I didn't really test it, but you saw it, it performed quite well. Now obviously a Junkies version would perform very well. Good side note is that it would also boost the damage from your throwables. Now Bloodied, I'm not quite sure how good you can deal with it. The build would definitely look quite a bit different, but yeah, in terms of damage obviously you would do way better. But if you can manage the condition, a 2-shot is obviously the best version. However, yeah, as I said, condition goes down twice as fast, so keep that in mind. I feel like this one here does perform very well, and honestly, you can do even pretty well with a simple non-legendary version. Also, you see no mods needed. And the other weapon we used here is this here 2-shot missile launcher with VATS hit chance. Now we're using VATS, so I mean there is a targeting computer for the missile launcher, but it makes it way heavier. And on the other hand, we want to use this thing in VATS anyways. It's a lot of fun if you use it with the targeting computer. There's no denial, but yeah, you're missing out on a lot of damage. And in terms of a quad barrel or something, obviously it would definitely help your DPS, but yeah, it also increases the weight and I didn't feel it necessary. And also I felt like this one, yeah, it feels better. I don't know how to explain. Now obviously if you would go for bigger fights more often, yeah, it would be a good idea to use the quad barrel. Now in terms of armor, we have 3 good armor pieces here. It should be all heavy armor, Vanguard, combat armor with the boss modification, and 2 of the pieces are with AP refresh, which is actually nice. We wanna have AP all of the time, and we don't have gun fu, so every time we're killing an enemy, we're quickly out of VATS, and most of the time, the time we need in order to lock on to the next target is enough to refresh our AP completely. The last piece here does have extra perception, which is nice for our VATS hit chance, but as I said earlier, it's not that big of a deal. Then we actually have 1 heavy boss combat armor piece here, but it's completely unlegendary, and I didn't even bother to use a left leg as far as I remember. Now our defense stats are quite high, as you see, so go for a full Vanguard set with IP refresh. That would be awesome. Or obviously better armor exists, so Secret Service or now the boss recon armor. Do as you like here. You just want to have a full health armor piece, and AP refresh I do consider relatively important for this build. Yeah, in terms of the optics, we do have this here tanker helmet from the scoreboard and the Voltec jumpsuit, just to give off this kind of militarized Voltec style that you'd know from the boomers. Obviously they did use heavy combat armor on top, and yeah, they look more militarized, but yeah, this is basically one of the guys that walked around the army base. Now on to the perks. Here we do have it, 12 strength. We do use Traveling Pharmacy, Bare Arms, Lock and Load, and Ordnance Express. Now Lock and Load and Ordnance Express, those 2 are kinda important for the build. Lock and Load, as I said, 30% faster reload. It does help the Thumper, the M79 grenade launcher, even though it doesn't look like a heavy weapon. It definitely benefits from it. Therefore, yeah, with a weapon that only fires 1 shot, this perk is a must-have if you want to recreate this perk, this build here. Ordnance Express, I mean, you possibly can live without it, but why would you? I mean, all of your ammo is explosive. You want to carry grenades and such. Yeah, you really should take into account that this perk here exists. Bare Arms, that's kind of similar. I think you can live without it. If you're just carrying the M79 grenade launcher, for example, or 2 versions, it's not going to weigh you down all that much, so you can definitely use something else here. But as I carried the missile launcher, those things can weigh you down quite a lot, so I just included this, and same for Traveling Pharmacy. Now you do want to use your occasional stim packs. As you saw in the video, you're definitely going to burn through quite a lot of them, depending on how tanky you get with armor and such. so therefore traveling pharmacy not a bad idea here. In perception, yeah, I felt like the sweet spot was around 5 perceptions, so having 2 in fire in the hole and grenadier is definitely nice. I mean, they do fit the whole explosives vibe, and you want to have at least some perception, so you do have a good hit chance. Now, you always want to hit the torso anyways, as headshots don't really increase their damage, they rather decrease it for some reason. Angry Turtle made a good video about it. You just have to trust me here. So we don't need concentrated fire for once, because we always want to go for the torso, which also helps a lot with our vet's hit chance. So yeah, no need for concentrated fire in this case. Now, obviously, if you can make room for it, things like glow sight or even exterminator maybe could be worth it, but yes. Endurance, similar, we want to have fireproof. This is absolutely necessary in order to not blow yourself up all the time. We do have Loadout. I didn't really use it. It's just another perk that you can use in order to have some healing going on with Nuka-Colas rather than Stimpaks, if you find yourself being low on Stimpaks. Adamantium Skeleton wouldn't be a bad idea either. If you can make room for Endurance 6, then definitely go for Adamantium Skeleton. It kind of depends. I just felt like I didn't really need it. However, yeah, if you're getting crippled in a fight, that's definitely going to be an absolute disaster, because yeah, you can't move away, but you can just panic fire at the floor. That may save your life. So yeah, maybe go for Adamantium Skeleton. I didn't really feel like I needed it, but yes, this was stupid. Then on to Charisma. We do have Lone Wanderer. Basically, there's nothing we really need. I mean, you could argue that often we do need 2 shots, so Tenderizer would maybe help us out a little bit with damage, but on the other hand, most of the time we're killing enemies with 2 or 1 or 2 shots, so it would only help us really with boss enemies. And investing 3 points in Charisma just for that occasion just didn't really feel necessary. I felt like we were better off using those perk points elsewhere. And yes, therefore we went for Lone Wanderer. Yet more AP regen and less damage taken. Yeah, we want to be at least a decent bit tanky, so yeah, Lone Wanderer was a good pick here. Now, obviously, if you want to go for a team-based character, use the Empath Mutation and Strange in Numbers perk and such perks, but we wanted to make this a solo build. It's probably easier. You don't want to mess with your friends' loot, because sometimes you can blow legendary enemies away and such. So yeah, make this guy just a Lone Wanderer. That's it. You don't need more. Now, you need to be highly intelligent. What we really need is Gunsmith and Demolitions Expert. Now, 10 intelligence would be necessary. Batteries included is just here because I usually use this character as a power armor character, or most of the time at least, and therefore I do have a lot of fusion cores, and as you guys know, those weigh a lot, so yeah, we wouldn't really be able to run around without batteries included. I sadly can just make them disappear for the video, so therefore we are at 13 intelligence, but yeah, if I had to completely choose, I would go down to 10 intelligence, use Demolitions Expert and Gunsmith, and use those 3 perk points we have left in Endurance for something like, I said earlier, Adamantium Skeleton. Now, onto Agility. We want to have fairly high Agility, as we're primarily using VETs. Action Boy, yet more AP refresh. Marathoner, yeah, we want to be on the move constantly, and you find that it's kind of tedious if you're running away or running towards enemies in order to get into range or out of their range, and want to take a pot shot and have to wait for your AP to refresh. I mean, it refreshes very fast, but it's a nice convenience, even though it's a lot of perk investment, not gonna lie. So you could arguably go for more adrenaline here, but yeah, I felt it like a sweet spot. It was nice to use Marathoner here in order to be constantly on the move and not run out of AP. Now, Through Hiker, similar to my other convenience perks, we're basically loaded with them. For once, because we don't really need anything else or much else. And on the other hand, yeah, as I switch my characters all the time, I tend to be equipped for every occasion, and therefore I tend to use carry a lot of nuclear quantums and such. I mean, on this occasion I think we don't even use need through hiker. If I quickly go through here, yeah, we don't have a lot of yeah, we could live without it, so you could go for something like Born Survivor, but, or as I said, more adrenaline. Now dodgy was a pick I was interested in, just in case to be more to be more dodgy, to be more tanky, but yeah, the AP drain is just too much of a burden if you're using bats all the time. And in terms of luck, we're having relatively low investment this time. Starch Genes, obvious, but yeah, Luck of the Draw, this here is a must-have perk. It doesn't do a whole lot, but it definitely helps you keep your weapon going for quite some time. Now keep in mind that your weapon hits 2 times, basically, when you're using it in bats, meaning you have 2 chances in order to proc the effect. And if it does, that's basically another 5 to 10 shots you can take without your your weapon breaking. So having it equipped, definitely a good idea. And Bloody Mess, well, on this occasion, yeah, we don't use mods in order to boost our damage all that much. So Bloody Mess on explosive weapons arguably worth it a bit more than on other characters. I tend to use it. Yeah, yet again, bit of damage didn't hurt us here. Now we could have really invested into VATS perks, as we're primarily using VATS and our crits are doing better, but I felt like in the damage department we're not really lacking, so I really went for maintenance perks more on this occasion. Now you probably could squeeze out a lot of damage if you invest into criticals, depending on, as I said earlier, if they do boost the weapon or not. As I said, I had mixed feelings about it, and I do feel like they don't really help you out. Now I can remember reading something about explosive weapons not really working with crits, in the way that they tend to just yeah, the projectile itself does 1 damage and the explosive is just attached, like with the explosive legendary effect, but just that this time all of the damage is carried by this explosive effect. So therefore a critical which would boost your projectile's damage would just affect the 1 damage from your projectile and not the explosive portion. So therefore that's the problem. However, the only thing that really helps is that the crits are still safe hits, even though they take some time, which can be kind of funny. But yeah, it's I feel like we're doing fine like we did on this occasion. And last but not least, we do want to go over to the legendary perks. However, on this occasion, yeah, you're not going to see a whole lot. Basically the only thing that really affects us was legendary strength and legendary intelligence. Now those are just extra perk points, as I said, but I think you can live without them. As I said earlier, we don't really need, usually you don't really need batteries included and could go for intelligence 10, so you can leave legendary intelligence out, have 2 unnecessary perk points, so you can use 1 of them for strength and still have 1 of them left in order to, yeah, make up for endurance 5, bring it up to 6 and use adamantium skeleton. But yeah, those aren't make or break points for the build. Hack and Slash melee perk, Exploding Palm, yeah, unarmed perk, and those 2 here, taking 1 for the team. If you were to not use a Lone Wanderer build, you could use this perk here, or make use of this perk here, but we didn't on this occasion, and the electric absorption only works in power armor. So one thing that could be useful, or if you not know what you want to do, now primarily you would want to boost your special stats in order to use perks you don't have access to in this occasion. But what you could do is Far-Flung Fireworks. It works with explosives that you shoot, so it gives you an extra chance that if you're killing an enemy, you make him explode, which obviously fits the build quite well. And the build that makes your throwables have a chance to explode when they kill an enemy is also nice. But yeah, hardly anything that makes or breaks the build. No, this isn't a build that's really centered around legendary perks. Overall, that was it, unless I forgot something, or yes, I just remembered. Last thing we're going to take a look at is our mutations. Now we do have Bird Bones, Carnivore, Eagle Eyes, Grounded, Marsupial, Speed Demon, Talons and Twisted. Obviously, Talons and Twisted, those are absolutely useless, and not only useless, but they actually hold our build back. But I left them in because, as you can see, I'm highly mutated, and yeah, knowing my luck, I know that if I would start to use Redaways, Talons and Twisted Muscles would be the last two mutations I would be left with, and I'm currently working on another character that needs these two, and I felt like, yeah, the negative gun accuracy wasn't all that bad. We were hitting quite well, as you saw here. Otherwise, I would have tried to delete them, but yes. What we want is Speed Demon for yet another increase in our reload speed, Marsupial to jump around and more carry weight, Grounded, bit more resistances, always nice to have, especially on our character here, which doesn't use power armor. Eagle Eyes, arguably it doesn't really help us, but on the other hand, the Perception +4 make up quite well for our negative gun accuracy from Twisted Muscles, but ultimately I would leave that out too if I would make the build from scratch. Carnivore, not necessary, you know the thrill, it's just a little convenience. And Bird Bones, extra agility and reduced fall speed. Now, what you want to do if you were to recreate the character, you just want to have Bird Bones, Grounded, Marsupial and Speed Demon basically. That's it. Another thing you could go for is Scaly Skin, but yeah, that's about it. Hope you enjoyed the build, guys. Let's take a look at our thumbnail. Please open the menu, don't be so buggy. Alright, there it is. Not quite happy with the picture this time, but yes. That was it. I hope you enjoyed. A little information about what's about to come. I plan to heavily I plan to do let's plays on build characters for Cyberpunk 2077 if it comes up the next days. This will also mark kind of a point on my channel, because actually that's going to be the first videos we're going to upload from PC. I'm currently working on it, so I'm trying to get it right, but at the very least we should have a way better video quality, so that's something to look forward to. And otherwise I'm not going to stop making these Fallout builds, so don't worry. Thanks for your time, guys. See you. Bye.